ନୁହଁ ତେଣୁ ଫର୍ମାଲ
This
ୱାର୍କ
call is
ଷ୍ଟ୍ରକ୍ଚର
now being recorded.
Formal work structure implies how participants relate to accomplish educational goals and tasks. That is formal structure. And school is known as a formal educational institutions because we just practice the formal rules and regulations. We go for organized plan in order to go for the function of school. So some formal things we find here. That's why it is called formal work structure. From that point of view, we can say it is a miniature society. Second thing, authority structure, and here in school how decisions are made and the rules are established and reinforced. That is done in educational institution or school. And also communication structure, how information flows between teacher and students and among the peers. uh, that can also we find in school. And also it is power structure means how participant exercise ability to influence other behavior, how it is controlled by the higher authorities, how the rules and regulations are function. All these things describe the power structure. From that point of view, school is a miniature society. And also the status and the privilege structure, that means how recognition and reward are distributed among participants, so which also happened in society, and that is also practiced in school or classroom. And some informal clique structure we will find here, how participant from groups, how participant go for mutual interaction, how they go for protection. All these things are followed in educational institutions or school. From that point of view, it is called a miniature society. And uh, so now question arises, how a school or educational institution can be a good learning factor. So how a positive climate or congenial climate can be created in the school. So for that we know the learner must learn in a congenial atmosphere. They should feel free and they should feel safe, and that kind of environment enhances their learning process. That's why a school must have to follow some of the important rules and principles in order to bring the growth and development of learners. And for that, what are to be done, some things we must have to discuss about it. So before that, so positive climate implies means, what is the meaning of positive climate? The climate which in which students actually learn better, that is called positive climate. And classroom climate means it refers to the authority pattern and the social and emotional relationship within a teaching group, and it significantly impacts the students learning and development. So there are three types of classroom climate. Already we have discussed in the previous session, that is authoritarian, democratic, laissez-faire. Authoritarian means where teacher plays a dominant role in the teaching learning process, and students are not given any priority, they are the secondary. But what happened in democratic classroom climate, here teaching learning process goes on mutual respect, mutual interaction. Laissez-faire means where students are given complete freedom with minimal intervention from the teachers. So these are the three kinds of climate, and out of which one is better, we cannot say actually. Traditional who believes in the traditional education system, they believe that authoritarian classroom is better because it is disciplined, and we can complete the course in a scheduled time, and students will be disciplined. That is the belief of the supporters of authoritarian classroom climate. But in modern days, we have discarded that type of climate, that type of teaching method. Nowadays we are giving more emphasis on learners. So in modern days, laissez-faire type of teaching learning style or classroom climate is gaining popularity. But I think I think all have some positive sides and some negative sides. We have to take the positive sides and create that kind of environment so that we can facilitate the learning. So talking about the steps or procedures how to create a positive climate in the classroom. First one, the teacher or principal or the other staff must try to recognize the individual differences. Individual differences plays a very crucial role in the process of learning, as we know. So we must have to adapt the instruction that accommodate the needs of diverse learner, diverse teaching style, and that should be implemented in the curriculum. Individualization must be given priority. Second one, learn students name is another important thing. That means learn students name means establishing good personal interaction with each student. So as a teacher we should try to remember at least their names. We will try to create a environment in which they will be free to interact with you, share and able to share their emotions and feelings with you. So that kind of congenial atmosphere must be created in the classroom, and must be a safe and participant environment must be created. Ensure that each students feel comfort and sharing ideas ideas without fear. Establish clear expectation to be fair and consistent in enforcing classroom rules. So we should tell our students what kind of expectation that we have from them. So as a teacher we should do this because this will help in long term. So it is another important thing. We must have to establish some rules and regulations for our classes. We must have to make aware about our principle of the school to the students so that they will be in the right path. The next one, we must have to encourage as a teacher. We must have to encourage and support our students. Use praise and constructive feedback to build a confidence. So these are the various kind of skills for developing or for creating a positive climate. The next thing, alternating, we must have to think about some alternative learning environment. Okay, alternative learning environment means which is alternate to the traditional classroom. So we can take the example of two case study. One is taken from Rajasthan, Morsala, the desert school, Morusala, the desert school. So it is a unique alternative school in the Western Rajasthan. So its curriculum, its timing, its teaching learning process is quite different from the formal or traditional classrooms. Here, no traditional classes are there, no corporal punishment is provided there, and the environment, school environment is very cooperative, is very relaxed. Students feel free, and another important thing, they follow the agricultural calendar because in that area the main occupation is agriculture. So most of the students they are engaged in the agricultural process. So this school follows a timetable. Actually that is known as agricultural calendar. ମାନେ ଯୋଉ time ରେ ଯେମିତି ଆମେ ତାର holidays କେବେ ହବ, classes କେବେ ହବ, ତାକୁ ଆଗରୁ ଗୋଟେ decide କରାହଉଛି basing upon the agricultural activities. Then also in the process of curriculum development, they also seek the help of student and also the local persons who help in the curriculum developmental process. And another important thing, they go for the flexible teaching approaches based on the students' performance. Or overall, we can say learner-centric approach is strictly followed here. And another important thing, Sujata Mitra, he has experimented on this regard. And the title of the research is Hole in the Wall. So what happened? So this is about the self-directed learning. So computer embedded in the wall in poor neighborhood. These are his research findings, or these processes is actually made to know the influence of e-learning, how e-learning motivates in self-directed learning. So computer embedded in the classroom, embedded in the poor neighborhood, children between 6 to 12 years with minimal education and self-taught computer skill without formal instruction demonstrated minimal advancing educator concept, create unique learning environment outside formal schooling. Okay, so these things actually describe about the learning process or describe about the alternative learning environment. So learning environment, what they find in school, and the learning environment, what they find alternatively. Okay, so these things are described here. Then this is all about this unit. So this unit, what we have learned from this unit. So creating effective learning environment. So first thing, we must have to go for the holistic approach. We should not focus only on the cognitive development. We should focus the other aspect of development, namely psychological, social, cultural, political. All these things are to be taken care in the process of teaching and learning. And school should organize different kind of activities related to the development of these domains. Second one, the teaching learning process be student centered. So and an environment should be created where students may feel safe, valued, and motivated to learn through positive relationship and meaningful engagement. And another important thing we must have to taken care in educational environment or school environment, that we must have to respect for the diversity. As we all know that India is a country of diverse. So here we will find the differences among culture, among the background of the student, among the learning style, among the abilities. So all must be acknowledged, all must be taken care while planning for the teaching learning process. So if we want to develop a quality educational environment, all these aspects must be taken care. Okay, so this is about the unit 10 school environment. If any doubt is here, you can ask. Otherwise, we will go for the next unit. Any doubt? Respond. Please
No, sir.
respond.
No,
No,
sir.
sir. Next unit.
Okay. Okay. Let us go for the next unit. The next unit is about environment and learning. So how environment and learning are dependent. So these things we are going to discuss here. So as we know, environment has a great impact on the learning process, and both physical environment, socio-cultural aspect of home, school environment constitute the kind of learning environment. And a child access to the process of learning by encountering in those environments. So these environment can either facilitate the learning process and also can hinder the learning process. Some of the factors are there which help in growth. No, ଆଉ କିଛି ଏନଭାରମେଣ୍ଟ ରହିଛି ଯୋଉଗୁଡା କଣ କରିଥାଏ ନା ଆମର ଟିଚିଂ ଲର୍ଣ୍ଣିଂ ପ୍ରୋସେସ କୁ ପୁରା ଡିକ୍ରିଜ କରିଥାଏ, ମିନିମାଇଜ କରିଥାଏ। ସେଥିପାଇଁ ଏନଭାରମେଣ୍ଟ ଆଣ୍ଡ ଲର୍ଣ୍ଣିଂ ଦେ ଆର୍ ଇଣ୍ଟର ରିଲେଟେଡ ଟୁ ଇଚ୍ ଅଦର। ଇଟ୍ ହେଲ୍ପ, ସମଟାଇମ୍ସ ଇଟ୍ ହେଲ୍ପସ ଆଣ୍ଡ ସମଟାଇମ୍ସ ଇଟ୍ ହିଣ୍ଡର୍ସ ଦି ଲର୍ଣ୍ଣିଂ ପ୍ରୋସେସ। ତେଣୁ ଏ ଲର୍ଣ୍ଣିଂ ଏନଭାରମେଣ୍ଟ ଭିତରେ ବହୁତ ଗୁଡେ ଫ୍ୟାକ୍ଟର୍ସ ପିଲେ ଆମର ଆସୁଛି, ଯେମିତି ଆମେ କହୁଛନ୍ତି ସମ୍ ଫିଜିକାଲ ଇନଫ୍ରାଷ୍ଟ୍ରକ୍ଚର, ତାପରେ ଆମର ଜେଣ୍ଡର, socialization, cultural influence, so many things are there which affect the process of learning. So in this unit, we are going to discuss about it. So in this unit, we will talk about the physical environment. What are the physical environment? जो already ଆମେ ବହୁତ କଥା discussion କରି ସାରିଲେଣି, ଅଳ୍ପ କିଛି କହିକି ମୁଁ ତାକୁ ଏଠି complete କରିବି, ତାପରେ next unit କୁ ଆମେ ଯିବା। Physical environment means through this unit we will understand how physical environment like home and school put impact on children's learning behavior and achievement, and what are the social class factor. We will identify and analyze how social class influence the behavior of learners. So gender socialization is another important factor which also affect the process of learning. Examine how gender socialization affect the learning behavior and educational opportunities, and also we will recognize the cultural influence and how culture shapes the learning process and cognitive development of learners. Then also what steps we can take here for creating a conducive learning environment. So first talk about physical environment and learning. So school accessibility, I think no need to discuss on it. So physical distance between the home and school that affect the learning process no ତାଙ୍କ learning motivation କୁ ଆଉ attendance କୁ particularly for girl students if schools are not situated very near to home what happened they so they may be motivated to learn ଆଉ ଯୋଉ ଏରିଆ ମାନଙ୍କରେ ବହୁତ ଦୂର ଦୂର ମାନଙ୍କରେ ସ୍କୁଲ ରହିଛି ସେ ଏରିଆ ମାନଙ୍କରେ ଦେଖିବା ଆମେ ଜେନେରାଲି ଗାର୍ଲସ ଏଜୁକେସନ ରେଟ୍ ଅଫ ଗାର୍ଲସ ଏଜୁକେସନ ଅର ପରସେଣ୍ଟେଜ ଅଫ ଗାର୍ଲସ ଏଜୁକେସନ ଇଜ ଭେରି ଲୋ ଯଦିଓ ଆମର ସର୍ବଶିକ୍ଷା ଅଭିଯାନ ହଉ କି ରାମସା ହଉ they have decided a standard distance for establishment of school that is in Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan it has mentioned that there would be a primary school within 1 kilometer radius and that is in Ramsa that is a secondary school must be within the 5 kilometers radius okay so school accessibility affect the learning school that is another important thing infrastructure ଆମେ discussion କଲେ rural area କଥା urban area କଥା infrastructure also plays a very crucial role for learning then school timing affect when school schedule do not match the community needs okay, children, especially girl, may be pulled out to assist with income generation or household duties. So that should be taken care. जो किसी समय आगु आमे गोटे राजस्थान वेस्टर्न राजस्थान जो मारुसल्ला स्कूल कथा डिस्कशन करतुले that school actually run as per the timetable of the society. So some mane if we go for the standard timetable across the country, what will happen? That will affect the attendance of many children. Okay, some students, as we know, they help their students, specifically students from low socioeconomic backgrounds. They help their parents for incoming. Okay, and girl students they go for the household chores. So if we don't look into that matter, what happened? The percentage of attendance on enrollment of girl students and underprivileged students may be low. Okay, so that will affect. So school time should be prepared according to that. Rajasthan रे उत्तर प्रदेश रे मध्य सेमती गोटे स्कूल अछि एक्जाक्टली से स्कूल नाम मोर मने पडुनी सेठी आकु चाष बहुत हुए सेठी कोन करा जाय स्कूल रो टाइम टेबल फिक्स करा जाय जेमिति मार्सुला स्कूल कथा हमें करथुले एग्रीकल्चर उपरे in that school also that timetable suits the needs of the society okay so as per they go as per the timetable of the society okay ତେଣୁ ବହୁତ ରିସର୍ଚ୍ଚ କରାହେଇଛି ପିଲେ ଯଦି ଆମେ ରିସର୍ଚ୍ଚ ଦେଖିବା ଗୋବିନ୍ଦ and Varghese in 1991 they have found that infrastructure facilities play an impact role in improving the teaching learning environment and consequently learner achievement levels and overall school quality so ଆହୁରି ବହୁତ ରିସର୍ଚ୍ଚ ରହିଛି not only this one if we go for the research findings we will find that the school accessibility infrastructure school timing they affect the process of learning so this must be taken care some policies should be made by the local authorities as well as the authorities from the national level to look into this matter and go for a decentralization of power they should power should be given to local authorities in order to decide the school timing and also to look into the matter of infrastructure and be ensured that all kind of basic necessities must be provided to that to those educational institutions so that the congenial learning environment may be created. Then second thing, home environment and learning. So home environment is also one of the important factor which affect the learning process. So facilitative home environment, disadvantaged home environment. So if a child belongs to a home or belong to a family of sound economical status, then he or she may find all kind of opportunities that will affect the learning process. So home environment includes well-built houses with proper ventilation and lighting, adequate rooms for providing providing quotitude for learning resources like television radio newspaper book computers must be there educated family members must be there who may assist them for learning then structure time and different facilities for structure time and different activities and limited household chores for children So we call this kind of environment as facilitative learning environment. So if students find these opportunities, find that kind of environment, automatically their learning process will be better. And the other hand, if those facilities are not available for students, then their learning process automatically we will say will be slow down. Okay, so ତେଣୁ have ଆଉ have nots ଭିତରେ ଯୋଉ difference ଆମେ ଦେଖନ୍ତି, if we have all kind of opportunities, automatically we will grow in a right path. And the other hand, if we have lacked these facilities, if we belong to disadvantaged home environment, then automatically our learning process will slow down. So another thing, disabilities and physical environment, that also affect the learning process. So disability means children with disable, जोटा को हमें CWSN बोली कहती, they face different unique environment challenges that can significantly impact their learning opportunities. जदि जो पिला माने टिके फिजिकली डिसएडवांटेज रहिचंती, जो मानको हमें पिले CWSN बोली कहती नो, जदि they do not, if they don't find the right kind of environment, right kind of physical environment particularly, it hampers their learning process. So it creates mobility challenges for them. So difficult commutes between school, home, especially in inadequate public transportation. If schools are situated in a far, then they may not attend those schools ମାନଙ୍କରେ ମଧ୍ୟ ଯଦି ଯାହା basic facilities ରହି ଯଦି ନଥିବ, ଯେମିତି ଆମେ କହୁଛନ୍ତି may be rack ହେଇପାରେ କିମ୍ବା may be special toilets ହେଇପାରେ for those kind of children, they may face difficulties. Then structural barrier, ଯେମିତି ଆମେ କହୁଛନ୍ତି school buildings often lack ramp, proper toilet facilities and other accessibility features that will affect the learning process. Classroom may be designed according to them. যদি ଆମେ inclusive education କଥା କହୁଛନ୍ତି, we don't find those kind of opportunities. Standard classroom setup may not be accommodate the students with visual, hearing and mobility impairment. Resource limitations, they need some kind of special resources, and non-availability of these resources or non-affordability of these resources hamper their learning process. ଯେମିତି ମୁଁ କହୁଛି, suppose we have a blind students, so ତା ପାଇଁ ଯୋଉ facilities ଦରକାର, maybe what we call braille books or other facilities, technological facilities, କିମ୍ବା if we find a different student in our arena, and if we don't provide the devices, hearing devices, that will affect their learning process. You know, a physical environment that is disability friendly both at home and at school is essential for creating an appropriate learning environment for the children with disability. So that should be taken care. Then talking about effect of social class in the classroom. What is the effect of social class? Social class means we can divide the students basing upon their socio-economic status. Some have high socio-economic status, some have low, and some have what we call average or middle socio-economic status. So the living condition affect the process of learning. So low socio-economic status children often face malnutrition, inadequate health care, and crowded living spaces that lack the private study areas. So living condition affect no, जदि बहुत बड़ा फैमिली रहिथिबो, आमे कहउचंती बहुत बेसी छुआ थिबे, ताले कोन हबो, the facilities that the basic facilities that they need, they do not find all these facilities in school, and that affect their learning process and growth and development. And also another important thing, family environment. Middle class parent, they typically provide academic support, additional learning resources and varied learning experiences, and that low socioeconomic status family cannot. So family environment is also one of the important factors in this regard. Then self-esteem and expectation, teachers' expectation often correlate with social class, leading to low self-esteem and reduced participation among low socio-economic status students. Teachers na expectation jota mu kisi samay agru kahutili, sometimes they aspire more from the students who have come from middle class or what we call higher socio-economic status, and they have lower expectation from the students who come from lower socio-economic status. तेणु जेतेबेले expectation कम रही जाए low socio-economic status student मानक ठारू, they became demotivated and they reduce themselves from participation from different kind of activities, maybe regarding the curricular activities, maybe regarding extracurricular activities, which hamper their personality growth. Then expectation also affect. And then learned helplessness. That means repeated failure can lead to expectation of failure and believe that success is impossible, particularly when there are no successful role models. Okay, ତାକୁ ଆମେ learned helplessness ବୋଲି କହନ୍ତି. So sometimes what happened, we fail regularly. Okay, we fail repeatedly. Okay, so that failure actually create a inferior feeling in us. ତେଣୁ ଯେତେବେଳେ ଆମେ ସକ୍ସେସଫୁଲ ମଡେଲ ଦେଖନ୍ତି ନାହିଁ ଆମ ସାମ୍ନାରେ, ଆମେ ଯୋଉ ଆମର ଏରିଆରେ ଯୋଉମାନଙ୍କ ସହିତ ଆମେ ମିଶିଥାନ୍ତି, ମେ ବି ଆୱାର ଟିଚର୍ସ, ମେ ବି ଆୱାର friends, maybe other member of the society, and they don't find any success in a particular area. Okay, then that kind of feeling also come in us. We may not be get success in a particular area, so that diminish our learning process. So that is called learn helplessness. Okay, ତେଣୁ ବହୁତ ଷ୍ଟଡିଜ ତା ଉପରେ ହେଇଛି, ସୋସିଓ ଇକୋନୋମିକ ଷ୍ଟାଟସ ଉପରେ. ଇଥନିକ among all ethnic group demonstrate higher level of achievement on test score than the low socio-economic status students. So we can go for this study. Then another important thing in our society, that is our learning process is also affected by the gender sensitization or gender socialization. So despite constitutional provision, our Indian government has made so many constitution, so many laws, and so many constitutional provision for free primary education, female literacy in India. Still we have not achieved the level of, we have not achieved the higher level of women's education. Still there is some gap between the male and female education, so that affect the learning process of particularly the girl students. So gender socialization from early childhood, girls are often socialized to play subservient role and underplay abilities related to schoolwork. Okay, and their abilities are not properly accessed, they are not given properly different kind of opportunities for their growth and development, and resource allocation is limited for them. When resources are limited, preference is typically given to boys education. Teachers behavior is also affect the education of girl student. Teachers often demonstrate a different expectation and a tolerance level for boys versus girls, and subjects are also stereotyping. We think that some subjects are meant for girl students and some subjects are meant for boy student. That kind of practice is also going on in our curriculum. যদি আমি ଆମ curriculum ରେ ବି ଦେଖିବା, ମାନେ କଣ ହଉଛି, ବିଭିନ୍ନ ବହିକୁ ଆମେ ଯଦି ମାନେ ଆନାଲିସିସ୍ କରିକି ଦେଖିବା, ସେଥିରେ ଗ୍ୟାପ ରହିଛି, ଜେଣ୍ଡର ସେନ୍ସିଟାଇଜେସନ ଉପରେ ଗ୍ୟାପ ରହିଛି. ଫଟୋ ଆମେ ଦେଖୁଛନ୍ତି, ସେଠି ବଏଜ ମାନଙ୍କର ଫଟୋ ରହୁଛି, ଗାର୍ଲସ ମାନଙ୍କର ଫଟୋ ରହୁନାହିଁ. କିମ୍ବା ବିଭିନ୍ନ ପ୍ରୋବ୍ଲେମ, ଯେତେବେଳେ ସପୋଜ ଆମେ ମ୍ୟାଥମେଟିକ୍ସ ପଢଉଛନ୍ତି, ବିଭିନ୍ନ ପ୍ରକାର କ୍ୱେଶ୍ଚିନ୍ ଏମିତି ଆସୁଛି, ଆମେ ମାନେ ଫିଲ୍ କରିଥିବା ମଧ୍ୟ ସେଠି ଜେଣ୍ଡର ମାନେ ଜେଣ୍ଡର ଡିସ୍ପାରିଟିଜ ରହିଛି. ଫର ଏକ୍ସାମ୍ପଲ, ମୁଁ ଗୋଟେ ଏକ୍ସାମ୍ପଲ ଦଉଛି, ଯେମିତି ଆମେ 7th କ୍ଲାସରେ ପଢୁଥିଲେ ଗୋଟେ ଜିନିଷ, ଯେ ଦୁଇ ଜଣ ପୁରୁଷ ଗୋଟେ କାର୍ଯ୍ୟକୁ 3 ଦିନରେ କଲା ବେଳକୁ 2 ଜଣ ମହିଳା ସେଇ କାର୍ଯ୍ୟକୁ 6 ଦିନରେ କରୁଛନ୍ତି, 6 ଦିନରେ କରିଥାନ୍ତି. So that kind of question actually come, so which describe the inabilities of girl students or women. So we are following that subject, stereotyping subject. Okay, so that create a different attitude. So gender biasness ବର୍ତ୍ତମାନ ପର୍ଯ୍ୟନ୍ତ ରହିଛି, କରିକୁଲମ ରେ ରହିଛି, ଆମର ପ୍ରାକ୍ଟିସେସ୍ ରେ ରହିଛି. ଆଜ ଏ ଟିଚର we also practice this. ଯେମିତି ଆଉ ଗୋଟେ ଏକ୍ସାମ୍ପଲ ଦଉଛି, ସପୋଜ ଆମେ କହୁଛନ୍ତି ଯେ ବିଭିନ୍ନ ମାନଙ୍କର ସ୍କୁଲରେ ବିଭିନ୍ନ ପ୍ରକାର ଆକ୍ଟିଭିଟି ଯେତେବେଳେ ହୁଏ, ଆମେ ପିଲାମାନଙ୍କୁ ବିଭିନ୍ନ ପ୍ରକାର କାମ କରାନ୍ତି. ମନେକର କିଛି ଜିନିଷ ଟେବୁଲ ଚେୟାର ବହିବାର ଥିବ, ଆମେ ଝିଅ ପିଲାମାନଙ୍କୁ କହିବା ତମେ ମାନେ ପାରିବ ନାହିଁ, ବଏଜ ମାନଙ୍କୁ ଆମେ ସେ କାମ ସବୁ ଦିଅନ୍ତି. ତ ଝାଡୁ ଫାଡୁ କରିବାର ଥିବ, ଆମେ ବଏଜ ମାନଙ୍କୁ ସେ ଝାଡୁ ଫାଡୁ କରିବା ପାଇଁ ଦିଅନ୍ତି ନାହିଁ, we ask the girls to do that. Okay, so we are also practicing those kind of gender disparities. Okay, ତେଣୁ it also affect the learning process of girl student. Then talking about influence of culture on learning, so for that we may go for the Vygotsky theory. So we know that by analyzing by going through this theory, we will come to know about that education is a social process, and here the role of culture is very important. Language plays a very crucial role in the process of learning, and different kind of sociological tools are there, psychological tools are there in the process of learning. So simply we can say a deep impact of culture on the process of learning. Our culture facilitate the learning process. ତେଣୁ ଏଠି ଯଦି ଆମେ କଲଚର କଥା ଦେଖିବା, some of the important components of culture, one is called what is called language, a primary sociological tool that profoundly affect the classroom teaching. Students who speak on non-academic dialects may struggle to apply their knowledge in formal setting. Okay, so language is very crucial. ताମାନେ कौन पिले, suppose we lack of suppose we are lack in English knowledge, for example, and we are studying something which is offered in English medium. At that case, what happen? Our learning process will slow down, no doubt on it. Then cognitive operation is another important thing which is related to culture. So basic operation like classification may differ across culture, like the pale people, they classified object functionally rather than categorically. Okay, so ମାନେ ଯୋଉ କଲଚରରେ ଯୋଉ ଭଳି ପ୍ରକାରର perceptions ରହିଛି, ଯୋଉ ପ୍ରକାରର belief ରହିଛି, that affect the cognitive development or cognitive operation of an individual, of learners. Okay, and practical knowledge is another important thing. Skill that is also related to culture. So skill like weaving and street selling involved in the complex mathematical concept learned outside from formal education. So they get practical knowledge from culture. Sometimes some practices, some belief of culture also affect the learning process. Then social behavior that different cultures, they emphasize cooperation versus competition and affecting how children interact in the classroom setting. So practices जोटा कहूଥିଲି, social practices, social behavior affect the process of learning. So simply we can say influence of culture in learning is one of the important factor in the growth and development of individuals or learners. Then in the last part we will talk about how we will create a conducive learning environment, maybe at school, maybe at our home, maybe at the society or community. What kind of what steps we will take, or what procedures we will follow in order to create a conducive learning environment. First thing, we must be ensure about the physical climate, that means the availability and the necessity of teaching materials, and we must have to create the accessible spatial arrangement for all learners. Spatial arrangement means ଯେମିତି ମୁଁ କହୁଥିଲି CWSN କଥା, they must be provided different kind of facilities like what we call the transportation facilities, maybe different opportunities or facilities at the inclusive classroom or inclusive educational institution. ଯେମିତି ramp କଥା ଆମେ କହୁଥିଲେ, disadvantaged toilets କଥା କହୁଥିଲେ, other kind of facilities like what we call braille book for blind student, and some hearing devices for deaf and dumb students, and other kind of technology which adaptive technology, other kind of adaptive technology which may help them in their learning process. Those kind of facilities must be organized, and also organize different kind of extracurricular activities, okay, which will improve their personality, particularly ଆମେ ଯୋଉଟା visible or non visible student ମାନଙ୍କ ପାଇଁ also we can organize different kind of extracurricular activities, maybe song, maybe what we call art, craft, okay, and so some special accommodations must be provided for them. So these kind of facilities we will provide at home and also at school, so that their learning process will be in the right path. Then for socio-cultural climate, we must have to develop caring, supportive relationship with students, maintain high but realistic expectation for all students, focus on mastery goals, and never accept low quality work. And we must use scaffolded instruction to support learning. So these are the various methods, various techniques we will apply in order to create the congenial environment or conducive learning environment in which all type of students will get benefit. Okay, then so what strategy are to be made by a teacher, particularly in inclusive school. So first, a teacher must resist the labeling. So avoid prejudging students' abilities based on culture, social aspect, social class. Recognize that cultural differences is not cultural diversity. So that should be assured by a teachers. A teacher should behave equally to all kind of students. A teacher should not make any kind of discrimination among the students, and school and teachers, they may provide support to disabled students. They may go for creating an inclusive environment, and they should support the disabled students, that they should remember that disability become a handicap only when society fails to create a favorable condition. If society provides adequate opportunities for them, so their disability may not be barrier in their process of growth and development. And so we must set the high expectation, maintain a high expectation of for all students, setting realistic goal and achievable individual goal, and diversify instruction must be there. We must use varied instructional technology. Personalization should be given important. Social cultural background must be given priority. Learning style, needs, aspiration, motivation of the students should be taken care. And we must have to understand the social linguistic. We must learn about the communication pattern to prevent misunderstanding and breakdown in the classroom communication. So multilingualism must be taken care in the process of learning. Okay, so this is all about the unit. So if any doubt here, you can go for it. Otherwise, we will go for the next block. Any doubt?
Yes, sir. Next block.
Okay. So let us go for the fourth block. So today we will complete more units from this block. So this unit is about organizing the learning. Okay. So how, as we know, after knowing the environment, the next important task in the learning process is to how to organize the learning. The meaning of organizing learning means implies that what kind of situation we will create, so that students will find opportunities, and they will interact the environment, and they will get experience, and that will help in their learning process. So that means organizing. Okay. So here in this unit, in unit 12, we will talk about how different activities will be organized for cognitive organization, cognitive learning, and second for affective and psychomotor organization, and then we will go for the assessment of learning and curriculum based learning. So today, two more units will be covered regarding the organization of cognitive learning and organization of affective and psychomotor learning. So let us talk about how different activities or different processes are to be followed for cognitive organization. PPT ଦେଖା ହଉଛି ପିଲେ?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay, okay. So what is cognitive learning? So, Pile, we all know that if we talk about the developmental process, so it has different domain, namely cognitive. Second one, what we call psychomotor, and third one affective. Learning can be divided on these three groups. Okay, so cognitive learning implies that it is actually related to our brain. Cognitive learning means the learning processes which result from the application of our brain. That is cognitive learning. So it encompasses most learning events that we occur from school, that are occurring in school and out of school situation, and cognitive development or cognitive learning facilitates the other types of learning, that is what we call psychomotor or cognitive, ତାକୁ ଆଉ ଗୋଟେ ନାଁ ଦିଅନ୍ତି ଆମେ cognitive, and also the affective. Okay, so intellectual development is related to cognitive learning, and the function of intellectual or brain is related to the cognitive learning, and it is a very important, it plays a very important role actually in mental functioning and influences behavior throughout the various mental processes. Okay, so here what happened in cognitive learning, we may focus on four important units, or there are four important units of cognitive learning or cognition, namely schema. Second one is what we call concept. Third one symbol. Fourth one rules. So, what is the meaning of schema? Schema means what we call the stored conceptualization of experiences, and the ways to organizing prior sensory events. Schema means our cognitive structure actually, and it differ from person to person, and they are not necessarily pictorial representation or images, or nor tied to languages. Schema ମାନେ ଆମେ simple term ରେ ଆମେ କଣ ବୁଝିପାରିବା, ମାନେ in simple term from layman points of view, if we want to know the meaning of schema, that means idea about something. ओके, एंड दैट आइडिया मुझे एमती कहली माने आम जो इंडिविजुअल डिफरेंसेस देखंती, वी आल्सो डिफर इन दिस रिगार्ड, माने जे कोनसी बाबद रे माने वी हैव डिफरेंट, माने व्हाट आई थिंक अबाउट ए सिचुएशन और ए थिंग, others do not think in that same pattern. That is schema. For example, suppose you are asked what do you think about school. Okay, your view will differ from the view of the children, or from the view of the teachers, or view from the parents. Okay, so their own concept or their own idea about a particular thing is known as schema. Second one, what we call another unit of cognition, is concept. Concept means the general idea or meaningfully usually expressed by words, symbols, sign, and they are formed by combining the combination of characteristics of object gathered through different sources and stored as experience. That is concept. आगको मु कहबी ताको concept बाबदरे जेतेबेले हमें गार्नेस हायरार्की पढिबा इठी. That is concept means when we organize different kind of things, okay, they may look similar, okay, but they may differ in some areas, but when we want to put them in a group, we develop a concept for it. For example, suppose we say apple, guava, pomegranate. So these are the different things, but when we put them in a group, and the concept is the fruit. Okay, so when we talk about fruit, different kind of pictures come to our mind. That is concept. Then symbol means symbol, that is things that represent, signify, or indicate something other than itself. It is called symbol. For example, when we talk about the word God, it refers to the concept of God, not God itself. Okay, so symbol enables the viewer to get a mental picture of characteristics of object they present. ठीक अच्छे, तापर आसला पहले rules. when different concepts are combined for a universal truth, for a general fact, it is called group, it is called rule. So established when there is a need of finding a relationship between two or more concepts. Okay, ଯେମିତି ଆମେ କହୁଛନ୍ତି water boils at 100 degrees Celsius. So different concepts are there. Water is a concept, boil is a concept, okay, degree is a concept. So we combine these concepts, more than one concept, in order to form a general fact. That is called rule. So these are the four units of cognition, namely schema, then concept, schema, then second one actually symbol, third one concept, fourth one rule. Okay, so these four units actually the foundation of cognitive learning, and they are very essential for understanding how we process information and develop knowledge. So major processes of learning, cognitive learning. So four processes are there, four major processes which is facilitated which is facilitate the learning process, specifically cognitive learning process. First one, perception. So what is perception? Perception implies as the interpretation of sensation acquired by sense organs. Perception starts with sensing possession and assist in acquiring information that lays a foundation of cognitive processes. So perceptions mean idea. Okay, ତେଣୁ ପ୍ରଥମେ ଆଗ ସେନ୍ସେସନ ପରେ actually perception ହେଇଥାଏ. Sensation ମାନେ the process through which we get information through our senses, that is called sensation. Okay, then after getting those information, we go for developing idea about situation, about event, that is called perception. Okay, it is the ଯେମିତି ମୁଁ କହିଲି, it is the interpretation of sensation, and it starts with sensing processes and assisting acquiring information. So the information that we get through our senses ମାନଙ୍କୁ ଆମେ gateways କହନ୍ତି, knowledge ମାନଙ୍କର gateways କହନ୍ତି. ତେଣୁ ଯେତେବେଳେ ସେଇ ମାନେ process ହେଇଥାଏ କଣ ନା information what we get, we call it sensation. Then after perception we develop concept. Second process is concept formation. So the process of abstraction of qualities or features that present a concept, and concept helps classify different kind of object, ideas, principle and event relate to our environment. So after perception we just processes our perception, we processes the abstraction, the qualities, and we develop different concept. Then third thing, memory means we store those information in our memory, the storage of learning experience. Without memory learning is not possible. ଏତିକି କଥା ମନେ ରଖିବା ପାଇଁ ପଡିବ ନା, ଯଦି ଆମେ ମନେ କିଛି ନ ରଖିବା, if we forget everything, what will happen? Our learning process will slow down. ତେଣୁ ଯୋଉ କଥା ଆମେ କହୁଛନ୍ତି, memory is responsible for retaining information about the stimuli, about the events, images, ideas, all should be stored in our memory. Then after memory, another important process, or what we call the last step of cognitive learning, is reasoning. Here we culmination of the other processes involving logical analysis of facts, events, principle to establish a cause effect relationship. It's called reasoning. It is considered one of the highest mental activities. ତେଣୁ ଯେତେବେଳେ reasoning ହେଇଗଲା, when we judge, when we establish relationship between the dependent independent variable or cause effect relationship, we able to learn, or our cognition learning is in the right direction. So we learn, the cognitive learn possible because of these four important steps, namely perception, concept formation, memory and reasoning. Okay, ঠিক ଅଛି ପିଲା, ଆଉ ଗୋଟେ କଥା ଖାଲି ନେକ୍ସଟ ଇଏ କରିବା କଥା ଆଗରୁ କହୁଛି ମୁଁ, ତାପରେ ଇଏକୁ ଷ୍ଟାର୍ଟ କରିବି ପୁଣି। ମଣ୍ଡେ ଦିନ ଟିକେ ପ୍ରୋବ୍ଲେମ ହବ କ୍ଲାସ କରିବା ପାଇଁ, ଡ୍ୟୁ ଟୁ ସମ୍ ଅଫିସିଆଲ ଅର୍ଜେନ୍ସି। ତେଣୁ ମଣ୍ଡେ କ୍ଲାସଟାକୁ ମୁଁ ଟିକେ କାଲି କରିବା ପାଇଁ ଚାହୁଁଛି। ଆଇ ୱାଣ୍ଟ ଟୁ ସିଫ୍ଟ ଇଟ୍, ଗିଭ୍ ୟୋର ସଜେସନ।
ସାର୍ ଚଳିବ ସାର୍।
ଚଳିବ ନା? ଅନ୍ୟମାନେ ଟିକେ ରେସ୍ପଣ୍ଡ କରନ୍ତୁ।
ଚଳିବ ସାର୍।
ଓକେ, କାଲି
yes sir।
ଓକେ ଓକେ, କାଲି ଠିକ ଅଛି। କାଲି
କେତେଟାରେ ସାର୍ କ୍ଲାସ କରିବେ କାଲି?
କାଲି 4ଟାରୁ 6ଟା କରିବା। ଓକେ
ଓକେ ସାର୍।
ଓକେ ସାର୍।
ଓକେ ଓକେ, କିଛି ସମୟ ପରେ ତମେ ଲେଫ୍ଟ ଆଉଟ୍ ହେଇଯିବ, ତ ସେଥିପାଇଁ ମୁଁ ଆଗରୁ କହିଦେଲି ଇନ୍ ବିଟୱିନ୍ ଆୱାର ଷ୍ଟଡି। ଓକେ, କାଲି 4 ରୁ 6 ତାହେଲେ। So this is about the process of cognitive learning. Then let us talk about how we will organize the perpetual learning. So what is the meaning of perpetual learning? That means how a perception will develop. It means perpetual learning means a coherent unity of sensory input like visualizing, listening or feeling or object or stimuli, how these will be organized. ମାନେ perpetual learning ର ଅର୍ଥ ହଉଛି how perception actually develops in us. Okay, so for that, a perpetual learning ଯେତେବେଳେ ଆମେ କହୁଛନ୍ତି, it requires something or some processes, some sub processes we say. Understanding the child's learning potential and style, that should be properly understood by the parents or by the teacher. Second one, some concrete objects should be used for perpetual learning. କାହିଁକି ଆମେ concrete object use କରିବା without going for the abstract thing? That means students may not have that kind of cognitive development. That's why we must have to use some concrete objects. The next one, we must have to go for developing the scientific attitude. We must employing the discovery approaches. Okay, that means learning by doing. Discovery learning is important for specifically children of lower level. They should learn by discovering something or by जोटाको आमे pragmatism philosophy रे कहउतले learning by doing. That technique must be organized for perpetual learning. Then we must provide opportunities or allow our students to process at their own pace, and we must have to create the simulated situation. Okay, for interaction. अच्छा पिले मन अच्छा स्टूडेंट्स कहि परिबे कि व्हाट इज द मीनिंग ऑफ सिमुलेटेड सोशल सिचुएशन टिके खाली रेस्पोंड करंतु व्हाट इज द मीनिंग ऑफ सिमुलेटेड लर्निंग सिचुएशन सिमुलेटेड रो अर्थ कोन हेलो डियर लर्नर्स प्लीज रेस्पोंड जानिनो जदि नो आइडिया कहि देले आई विल एक्सप्लेन सो प्लीज डोंट बी क्वाइट
Please explain, sir.
Okay प्लीज कहंतु के कहउतले
That to make something active.
no that is not actually the meaning of simulated. Any other idea? Okay, let me explain. Simulated situation means artificial situation. Sometimes it is not possible to create the real image or real situation. So in that case, a teacher or parents should try to create the artificial situation in which students will encounter or they will gain experience. Suppose we are teaching Kalinga War. Okay, so what happened? That real situation cannot be created. We all know that. Okay, so that kind of artificial situation may be created by showing them the animation video or by organize a drama for it. So that artificial situation will give them the real life experience, just like the real life experience. That is called simulated. ओके जो जिनस गुड़ा आमे क्लासरूम रे माने डायरेक्ट आनी परिबा नाही. सपोज सहारा डिजर्ट कथा आमे कहि परिबा कि साभाना ग्रासलैंड कथा कहि परिबा कि अमेजन फॉरेस्ट कथा कहि परिबा. सो क्रिएटिंग दैट काइंड ऑफ एनवायरनमेंट by alternative way is called simulation. So when that kind of situation is created in the classroom, what happened? Student get real life experience. Okay, they develop their perpetual learning. So these are the processes, sub processes we can say for organizing cognition learning. And in cognition learning, the first step is to organize perpetual learning. Perpetual learning रो अर्थ होची कोन करिवा हमें perception develop करिवा पई what kind of procedures or what kind of plan or strategy we have to apply. कोन कहली we must have to understand the learning style and potential of the children. Second one, we must have to use some concrete things. Second thing, we must have to employ the discovery learning approach or what we call learning by doing approach. Next thing, we must have to give individualization. That means we allow the students to learn as per their own pace. Next thing, another important concept is to create the simulated situation. Okay, then second part जोटा को हम कहउतले perception परे आसुतला हमर concept learning. For concept learning, some of the important steps we have to follow, some of the important strategy we must make so that students develop the concept. Second thing, we must have to emphasize the attributes of concepts should be emphasized when explaining them. Attributes means characteristics. Both positive and negative attitudes, characteristics, examples should be presented for better grasp. Okay, तेणु attributes गुड़ा को हमको सठिक भाव में emphasize करवा पाई पड़िवो, explain करवा पाई पड़िवो. For example, suppose we want to develop the concept of fruits, जोटा को मैं example किसी समय आगे दउतली. तेणु we must have to describe the feature and characteristics of fruit. जो गुड़ा फुलरू फल हेई थाए, फुलरू जो गुड़ा develop हेई थाए, we call them fruit. Okay, which are edible. Okay, which आउ जहाँ जहाँ features सब जहाँ हमरो रहिची, those features are to be described. Then we will say apple and what we call pomegranate both belong to those categories or those attributes, so they may be put in one group, that is fruit. So attributes must be given. Then another important thing for development of concept learning is, second thing, we must have to use the precise language. That means concept should be worded in correct term and that convey meaning and nature. Language, we know that is the medium through which we communicate. So proper language must be utilized, and greater emphasis should be placed on explaining concept through precise language. A simple, concise language must be used. The language in which they are acquainted, they understand better. That kind of language must be used while developing the concept learning. Second one, sequence must be created. Sequence related concept must be created. So concept learning is facilitated by sequencing related concept. Start with easier concrete concept before moving to the difficult one or abstract one. Okay, so complex concepts should be reduced to simpler form. So sequence must be created. तामाने हमें कौन बुझुचंती sequence माने we should proceed from जोटा हमर teaching रो गोटे maxims रहिछि, easy to difficult but simple to complex. That maxim must be utilized. Simple things, as we know, are very easy to understand. So we should start from the previous knowledge of the students. So we must have to link the new concept with their previous one. ताको हमें गोटे theory कहंती assimilation of masses theory. That theory must be utilized here. So new ideas, new things must be linked with the previous one. Okay. Then we must have to create a sequence so that it will be easy for them to understand. And another important thing, the concept that we want to develop in learners, that must be related to their daily life, that must be relevant. Learning by doing method, discovery learning, problem solving, those kind of strategy must be used for concept development, and examples must be given from their daily day-to-day life, and provide concrete examples first given. Concept learning is better accomplished when they learn through concrete situations, present concrete object, and event relating to the concept. Then you will proceed for the developing of abstract concept. So प्रथमे हमें abstract concept न develop करी, प्रथमे हमें कौन करिबा, we will go for developing the concrete object, concrete concept. Then associational learning and generalization. What is associational learning? Association means relating the present experience with earlier one. No, जोटा को मु किछ समय पिले आगु कहतली जे apperception of masses. जोटा प्राय we will find that theory or strategy in every teaching theories. Okay, in every teaching learning situations, we must have to go for the association. माने association केमिति हेई परिबो, that can be categorized as automatic association, concept formation, and generalization. Okay, so these things have to be taken care in the process of teaching and also in the process of learning. So generalization learning means generalization refers to the establishment of relationship between two or more concepts. जोटा को rule learning पिले हमें कहतुले. So when two or more concepts or facts, they are combined with each other, that may be some kind of rules, laws, principle. So that is known as generalization. So example, that means understanding the multiplication is a continuous addition that may be given from mathematics. Okay, so multiplication implies continuous addition. So that kind of generalization in every subject must be created, and generalization has the characteristics of transferability within the same situation or to other situation. It facilitates problem solving in some areas, and generalization are made for problem solving. ठीक है, जेतबेले when one principle is applicable to different kind of situation or to find the solution of different kind of situation, in that case we can go for generalization, and it helps to consolidate the knowledge. It helps to understand a concept without memorizing. যদি generalization ଆମେ ନ କରି ପାରିବା କଣ ହବ ନା, sometimes what happened, we just prompted to memorize so many facts without understanding. And if once generalization learning occurs in our mind. It is no need to memorize anything. We just try to create the same pattern. ठीक अच्छे तेणु थर्ड स्टेप जोटा को हमें कहते कॉग्निशन लर्निंग रो आफ्टर concept formation. Next one is memory. Memory plays a very important role in the process of cognitive learning. So what are the different strategies are to be followed for enhancing the memory? First one, memorizing means the act of internalizing or processing information. So we must have to remember different facts, that is memorizing. Then तीनटा स्टेप एक्चुअली रही हाउ टू एनहांस द मेमोरी. फर्स्ट वन मेमोराइजिंग, सेकंड वन रिटेनिंग, थर्ड वन रिमेम्बरिंग. एंड इन फर्स्ट स्टेप we must have to remember, मन रखिया पई पड़िबो बहुत गुडे फैक्ट इन्फॉर्मेशन ताको इंटरनलाइज करिया पई पड़िबो, प्रोसेस को इन्फॉर्मेशन को इंटरनलाइज करिया पई पड़िबो. देन we must have to store in our memory what is called retention, ताको मन रखिया पई पड़िबो. एंड third step of memory learning is what we call remembering. We must have to we must have to go for act of recalling, reproducing, recognizing, store information. Okay, so these are the three processes. And after that memory can be enhanced through various techniques given by different psychologists. They have suggested how to enhance our memory. First one, developing meta memory skill. So what is meta memory skill? That means जोटा को आमे कहंती awareness of our own memory processes. को भली भाबरे आमे गोटे जिंस को बुझुचंती मेटा कॉग्निशन बोली ताको आमे कहंती. All it is also called a meta memory skill and it differs from person to person. बेले बेले जने जने कोन करंती ना by reading again and again they just develop the memory. And some students they remember better when they write it many times, and some students remember better when they listen it again and again, when they discuss it again and again. That differ from person to person or from student to student. Then also using mnemonics devices. Okay, so it is another technique to develop the memory. के कहि परिबो कि mnemonic कोन technique कोन के कहि परिबो? Any one of you? It is like pairing and association. Any one of you, please? Mnemonic devices. टिके रेस्पोंड करो जदि जानि ना हो कहले मु कहबी. Don't waste time.
नहीं सर तो जानिनु आ सेति तो समस्त चुपचाप रहउछन.
जानिनो जदि संगे संगे टिके कहबो जानिनु बोली टाइम वेस्ट करनी. टाइम वेस्ट कले सरिबोनी जति हम प्लान करतनी सारिबा में सरिबोनी. ओके, तेनु रेस्पोंड करिवो संगे संगे. हम सब जिंस जानि न थांते हम शिखिबा ना. तेनु जानिनो जदि हम कहबा जान नांती बोली. ओके, निमोनिक्स माने हम कोन करंती? वी जस्ट मेक एसोसिएशन. फॉर एग्जांपल सपोज हम कंपेयर करिबा बार्ड आ गोटे कार को. ओके, सपोज आमे कहले माने बार्ड रो फूड होची मने करो मे बी गोटे कार आ गोटे जो गोटे बार्ड को कंपेयर करो तारो प्रोसेस यार प्रोसेस को बड़ी भाबरे हमें सामान्य करचंती. सपोज हमें कहउचंती ए बार्ड इट्स वर्म. ओके, इन द सेम मैनर ए कार needs petrol or some what we call fuel in order to run. So बार्ड रे वर्म जोटा काम करूची बार्ड पई दैट फंक्शन इज डन बाय फ्यूल इन केस ऑफ कार. ओके, सिमिलरली जेमते हम कहउची सपोज कार इंजन इज रिलेटेड टू द ब्रेन ऑफ ए बार्ड. ओके, तेनु ताको हम केमती माने पेयरिंग केमती करूचंदी, हाउ इट इज रिलेटेड, that is known as actually mnemonic. That is a device through which we can facilitate the memory. ओके, पिला माने बेसी घुसिया पे ताको पड़िबो नै. दे कैन जस्ट मेक पेयरिंग एंड एसोसिएशन. ठीक अछि. तापरे आ गुटे एक्रोनिम जेमते हमें कहउचंदी शॉर्ट फॉर्म ट्रिक माने रखबा पे जेमते हमें इंद्रधनुर सात रंग को विभिन्न ट्रिक माध्यम रे माने रखंती. दैट कैन आल्सो फैसिलिटेट द मेमोरी. देन आल्सो employing the advanced organizer and keywords organizer, that is also another technique. Advanced organizer model देइथिले हमर डेविड आसुबेल, one of the renowned American psychologist. Okay, he has talked about advanced organizer. Advanced organizer कोन ना, it may be a general statement, general fact. ताको बेस करी कि कोन करा जिवो, ताको हुक करा जिवो अन्य कांसेप्ट सहित. Okay, so different concepts are hooked upon it. That is called advanced organizer. So that may be a general statement ହେଇ ପାରେ କି ଗୋଟେ idea ହେଇ ପାରେ କିମ୍ବା ଗୋଟେ concept ହେଇ ପାରେ ଯୋଉଟା general ଥିବ ତାକୁ base କରିକି ଅନ୍ୟ ଜିନିଷ ଗୁଡା ସବୁ hook କରା ହେଇଥିବ. Okay, so this is the third step or what we call the memory, how to enhance the memory. Then next thing, memory को केमती आमे कौन करि परिबा, how different memory are stored or what are different types of memory in the information processing. First one, sensory register, then what we call memory stage, then short term, long term. These are the different types of memory. So what happened in case of sensory register? So माने simple जिनसो, sensory registers mean senses are the gateway of knowledge. So ଆମର ଯୋଉ ପାଞ୍ଚଟା organ ରହିଛି ଆମେ କଣ କରନ୍ତି, we get information, that is sensory register. So environmental stimuli enters into the system but are stored for a very short duration and it is a part of second before being lost. So these are many sensory register as there are types of senses of perception. So जो जिनसोटा, suppose we see a thing, we listen a sound or something, then that is register in our sensory. That is the first process or first type. Okay, ତେଣୁ how that can be activated more, ଯଦି if ଯେମିତି ଆମେ କହୁଛନ୍ତି if we don't forget the interesting thing or what interesting thing what we have listened, we don't forget it easily. ତେଣୁ ଯୋଉ ଜିନିଷ ଗୁଡା କିଛି interest ନଥିବ we easily forget it. Okay, so as a teacher we must have to utilize it. We have to মানে create stimuli or situation which are very interesting. Okay, so that students will get information, they will remember it. Okay, तापरे कोन हबो पिले memory stage रे कोन आसुची, the entire process of memory involves 4 stages. That is acquisition, that means gathering information from different sources of the environment, then encoding, that transforming the information, store it our mind, transferring to memory system, and retrieval and tracing the required information. These are the memory stages. Outre कहूची चारटा important stages रहिची. Acquisition, that means the information that we get from the environment or through our senses. Second one कौन कहले, then we encode it. What is the meaning of encode? That means transforming information. ଆମ brain कौन करे, ताको process करे. What information we get is transferred into our understandable thing. ଆମେ ଯେମିତି ତାକୁ ବୁଝି ପାରିବା ତାକୁ ସେଇଥିରେ transfer କରିବାଟାକୁ we call it encoding. Okay, and after encoding it, encoding ମାନେ ଆମେ ବୁଝିଗଲେ what information our senses has got, then we store it in our memory system, and in the last phase we retrieve it. ଆମେ ମନେ ପକାନ୍ତି, recall କରନ୍ତି, identify କରନ୍ତି whenever we need it. ତାପରେ କଣ ହୁଏ, ତାକୁ short term memory से store ହେଇଥାଏ. As also known as working memory, short term memory is also known as working memory. It holds the information for a longer period but not in its original form. It has capacity of about 7 units of chunks and is used for sorting information to be remembered from that to be forgotten. Okay, short term memory store ही गला परे कौन हिए बहुत दिन पर्यंत रहे but not permanent. एक गोटे जिंस को मन रखियो, the information that is stored in STM is not stored permanently. किंतु जेतबेले when it transferred to LTM or long term memory, it has no limits of terms of unit. Okay, हमर यूनिट शॉर्ट टर्म मेमोरी रे सब बेले मन रखियो. बहुत टाइम रे कॉम्पिटिटिव एग्जाम रे क्वेश्चंस आसे एक्चुअली एगुडा जे केतरा चंक रहिता है शॉर्ट टर्म मेमोरी रे, केतरा चंक रहिता है लॉन्ग टर्म मेमोरी रे, केतरा चंक रहिता है मेमोरी स्टेजेस रे, केतरा steps रहिता है. all these types of questions actually come in competitive type of examinations. Okay, then when we talk about short term memory, it has 4 chunks or 4 unit, and it is used for sorting information to be remembered from that to be forgotten. Okay, but it has chances, but there are chances the information that are stored in STM may be forgotten with due time. But when it comes to long term memory, we never forget it. It has no limit of unit or chunks and theoretically nothing is lost from it ए जिंसटा को पिले मन रखिबो किछि जिंस जोटा लॉन्ग टर्म मेमोरी रे हमर रही जाए ताको हम जीवन में केबे भी भूलंती नाही शॉर्ट टर्म रे जोटा रहिता सेटा को हम भूली जिबार संभावना सब रहिता है नो तेनु एठी कोन रहिता है इट कंटेन्स सेमांटिक इंफॉर्मेशन दैट मींस रिलेटेड टू वर्ड्स and procedural information that means process how things are done and it requires to maintain through real cell if we practice it again and again and again okay that is stored in our long term memory ଯେମିତି ଆମେ କହନ୍ତି ଯଦି ଆମେ ପହଁରା ଶିଖିଥିବା କେବେ ବି ଆମେ ଭୁଲନ୍ତି ନାହିଁ ନୁହଁ କିମ୍ବା ଯଦି ଆମେ ମୋଟରସାଇକେଲ ଶିଖିଛନ୍ତି କି ସାଇକେଲ ଶିଖିଛନ୍ତି we never forget it କିନ୍ତୁ ଥରେ ଯଦି ଆମେ ଯୋଉ କମ୍ପ୍ୟୁଟର ଗୋଟେ ଜିନିଷ ମନେକର ପ୍ରାକ୍ଟିସ କଲେ some processes of computer by use of some software if we don't real cell it if we don't practice it again and again so after some days we may forget it মানে সেটা আমার শর্ট টার্ম মেমোরি রে সব রই থাকে ওকে then the last step of memory is reasoning organizing so reasoning is high mental ability that combines perception conceptualization and memory it is explained as a process of control thinking it starts from problem the individual needs to solve so reasoning starts when we face difficulties or situations or problem we just try to what we call consolidate we just try to consolidate what we have learned in the first three stages that is perception memory तापरे जो जिनसटा को हम डिस्कशन कले कोन कोन चारटा जिनस डिस्कशन कले बिले मने अछि what are the four stages एठी जोटा कहउतले perception तापरे concept formation हला then memory if we don't able to consolidate the first three stages we don't able to find the solution of a problem that we face or what we call we don't able to apply our reasoning ability okay so it needs the mastery over the first three stages so reasoning plays a significant role in cognitive learning by enabling adjustment to the environment it facilitates the problem solving it establishes the logical relationship among information it also formulate hypothesis or tentative solution and plan accordingly to find the solution by taking the information or data ତେଣୁ ଆମେ କହିପାରିବା ଏଇ reasoning ability develops with age and maturation and it proceed from simple to complex young children reasoning is confined to concrete things personal thing in their immediate environment whereas the adults reasoning ability may related to abstract thing or greater experiences so how can a teacher develop the reasoning abilities a teacher can improve students reasoning through providing varieties of experiences related to the classroom more importantly those situations or experience must be related to must be relevant okay our bada jinso that must be related to their past experience second one a teacher may create simulated learning experiences and integrating reasoning activities into curricular and co-curricular activities organizing different kind of activities maybe quiz programs maybe puzzles maybe debate maybe game sports maybe dance maybe role playing maybe drama so many things are there through which the reasoning abilities of learners can be developed okay so what we have learned here kon kon ame dekh jinso janle ethi pile first jinso ame janle foundation ତେଣୁ ଫାଉଣ୍ଡେସନ ଆମେ ଜାଣିଲେ କଣ ଲର୍ନିଂ କଗ୍ନିଟିଭ ଲର୍ନିଂ ଅର୍ଗାନାଇଜେସନ ର four important processes are there and namely perception concept formation memory and reasoning and they work together for comprehensive cognitive learning experience and that build from simple to complex and it also related to problem solving and also the role of effective organization how effective organizations will help in cognitive learning process okay dear students so if any doubt is here you can ask any doubt please respond
No, sir.
no
No, sir.
doubts okay so let us go for the fourth unit so this is केते नंबर यूनिट पढ़िया रे
Sir, 13.
okay okay unit number 13 so I am ending it in a concise manner विस्तृत भाव रे गले सरिबो नाही So many things are there. ଯେମିତି ମୁଁ କହିଛି, you should read extensively in order to understand the concepts or the paper, because it is one of the important paper for education students. So many questions actually come in competitive examination like your UGC NET or SSB examination or other type of examination. So many questions you will find here. ଆଉ ତୁମର ଯୋଉ ଇଗ୍ନୋର ଯୋଉ ସିଲାବସ୍ ରହିଛି, it is written very extensively. ଯଦି ତୁମେ ତାକୁ ସବୁ ପେପର ଗୁଡାକୁ କମ୍ପ୍ଲିଟ କରିଦବ, you will never face any difficulties. ଆଉ ଗୋଟେ କଥା ଆମେ ଯେମିତି ଜାଣିଛନ୍ତି, ବର୍ତ୍ତମାନ ଏଜୁକେସନ ଡିସିପ୍ଲିନ ରେ ବହୁତ ମାନେ କମ୍ପିଟିସନ ବହୁତ ବହୁତ ପିଲାମାନେ ଏଜୁକେସନ ଏନରୋଲ କରିଛନ୍ତି, ତୁମେ ମାନେ ଜାଣିଛ ମାଷ୍ଟର୍ସ ଡିଗ୍ରୀରେ। ଆଉ ଯୋଉମାନେ ବିଏଡ୍ ବି କରୁଛନ୍ତି, ସେମାନେ ଏମଏଡ୍ କିମ୍ବା ଏମଏ ଏଜୁକେସନରେ ଏନରୋଲ କରୁଛନ୍ତି। ତେଣୁ ଅନ୍ୟ ଡିସିପ୍ଲିନ ଅପେକ୍ଷା ଏଠି କମ୍ପିଟିସନ ବହୁତ। ଆଉ ସେଇ ତୁଳନାରେ ପୋଷ୍ଟ ବି ଅନ୍ୟ ସବଜେକ୍ଟ ତୁଳନାରେ ଏଜୁକେସନ ଏତେ ପୋଷ୍ଟ ବାହାରେ ନାହିଁ। ସୋ ୟୁ ହାଭ୍ ଟୁ ପ୍ରିପେୟାର ଅପ୍ ଟୁ ଦ୍ୟାଟ୍ ଲେଭେଲ। ତେଣୁ ଦିସ୍ ଇଜ ମାଇ ଆଡଭାଇସ୍ ଟୁ ଅଲ୍ ଅଫ୍ ୟୁ। Read thoroughly, read line by line if you want to get success. Okay. Let us talk about affective and psychomotor learning. So after cognitive development, it is the base for the development of other types of learning, that is affective and psychomotor. Psychomotor is cognitive, it is also known as cognitive development. So as we know, the main objective of education is not to develop only one aspect. We think about all round development, no? Then when we talk about the all round development or total development of learners, it means the development in different dimension. It is not only meant to cognitive development or cognitive development. It also focuses the other development, like the development in psychomotor area, development in affective area. So in this unit, we are going to talk about the two important domain of development. What does it mean? What are the scopes? And also what kind of activities are to be organized? What are the theories related to it? All these things are in this unit. So cognitive development, as we know, three types of development domains of learning can be classified into three areas. Cognitive domain already we have discussed. It means the focuses on knowledge acquisition, intellectual skill, changes in cognitive structure and style, development of thinking and reasoning. Then second thing, what we call affective domain, it relates to our feelings, emotions, attitude, and it means changes in awareness and feeling tone. It means development of our interest, motivation, values, everything. And psychomotor is related to our what we call physical skill. It involves the physical and manual skill. It combines the other two. It combines cognitive functions with the muscular coordination, and the development of manipulative and physical abilities is related to the psychomotor domain. So these three domains are mutually exclusive. They often operate simultaneously during the learning experiences. Okay. And the educational program that we organize in educational institutions come across the multiple domains, and by emphasizing the development of learning objectives. So when we talk about learning objectives, it means the objectives related to these three domains. ତେଣୁ ଯେତେବେଳେ ଆମେ ଲେସନ ପ୍ଲାନ୍ କରନ୍ତି, ତମେ ମାନେ ଯଦି ବିଏଡ୍ କରିଥିବ, ତମମାନଙ୍କ ଭିତରୁ କିଏ ଜାଣିଥିବ, ଯେତେବେଳେ ଆମେ ଲେସନ ପ୍ଲାନ୍ କରନ୍ତି, when we prepare the specific objectives, ଆମେ କ'ଣ କରନ୍ତି ନା ଆମେ knowledge, understanding, application of skill, ଏଇ ଚାରିଟା ଜିନିଷ ଉପରେ ଆମେ ଫୋକସ୍ କରିଥାନ୍ତି, ନୁହଁ କି? So these four skills are actually related to these three domains. ତେଣୁ the activities or the subjects that we organize in the curriculum are meant for development of these three domains. So what is the nature of affective domain? So talking about affective domain, it means the changes in the learner's feeling tone, including emotion, interest, attitude, and values. It empowers individual with qualities and make them unique human beings. Okay, affectional development is important. Affection means what we call, it is one of the psychological state which develop through different kind of situation and also help in our personality growth. So different kind of affections are there. So that may be love, sympathy, and tolerance. That may be cooperation, fellow feeling, moral, ethical development. So these are related to affective domain, and unlike cognitive domain, so affective domain takes place considerable time in a considerable time and cannot be accomplished through singular learning situation. Okay, so it also ମାନେ develops through stage by stage. ଯେମିତି ଆମେ ବିଭିନ୍ନ stages ରେ ମାନେ ଯେମିତି ଆମେ adolescence କଥା କହୁଛନ୍ତି ବା childhood କଥା କହୁଛନ୍ତି early childhood କଥା କହୁଛନ୍ତି those affections those emotions actually develop stage by stage and in each stage we find different kind of characteristics. Okay, so we must as a teacher or parents we must try to give that kind of situation to the child or learners so that their affective development will be in a right path. They will learn, their learning process will be improved. Okay, so what are the levels of affective domain? So when we talk about levels of affective domain, we find five important levels are there. First one, receiving. ଯେମିତି ଆମେ କହୁଛନ୍ତି ପ୍ରିଭିୟସ୍ କ୍ଲାସରେ ମୁଁ ଗୋଟେ କହିଥିଲି ଥିଓରି କଥା ମନେ ପଡୁଛି ନା ପିଲେ ଆଫେକ୍ଟିଭ ଡୋମେନ ର କୋଉ ମାନେ ବନେଇଥିଲେ ହେରାରକି କାହାର ମନେ ଅଛି ଟିକେ କହିପାରିବେ ଟିକେ ମତେ ଟିକେ ରିମାଇଣ୍ଡ କର ହ୍ୱାଟ वी हैव डिस्कस्ड अफेक्टिव लेवल ର ଗୋଟେ ହେରାରକି ରହିଛି ଜଷ୍ଟ ଲାଇକ କଗ୍ନିଟିଭ ହେରାରକି गिवन बाय ବ୍ଲୁମ୍ସ ଟାକ୍ସୋନୋମି ସିମିଲାରଲି କାହାର ମନେ ଅଛି ମନେ ନାହିଁ ଯଦି ରେସ୍ପଣ୍ଡ କର ମନେ ନାହିଁ ମୁଁ କହିଦେବି Okay, Krathwohl, okay. Krathwohl is related to affective development. He has given, Krathwohl is actually a colleague of Bloom's. Okay. Krathwohl and his associates, they have made a hierarchy regarding the affective domain. Our hero kotha koithili Anita Haro, he is related to psychomotor. Okay. So what are the hierarchy? First thing, receiving, the learners becomes aware and willing to attain a particular stimuli for affective domain. For affective learning, they must be attentive. They must receive the information, must receive the stimuli. Okay, for example, a student pays attention to discuss about environmental conversation. जे कौन सी टॉपिक हमें डिस्कशन करिबा if the learners is not attentive, is not receiving what happened, his affective domain, development of his affective domain will be slows down. ତେଣୁ ମୁଁ ଯାହା କହୁଛି ତୁମେ ମାନେ ଶୁଣିବ ନାହିଁ, what happened, you will not proceed for the next step. No, then receiving is the first step, and the second level is what we call responding. The learner actively participate and react to the stimuli, showing interest and willingness to respond. ଯେମିତି a student voluntarily prepares, participate in a beach cleaning up activity, जोटाको ମୁଁ example ଦେଇଥିଲି environmental conservation. ତେଣୁ the student first, in the first step, the student must have to listen very carefully, receive the information, then he has to respond. He has to go for the environmental conservation, then valuing. The learner attached words to the subject, phenomenon, and behavior, demonstrating to commitment. So take that example. A student consistently recycle and encourages others to do the same. That is valuing. That means his affection or his emotions towards environmental, what we call environmental conservation develops. Okay, then organizing. The learner will organize values into a system, determining the relationship and establishing dominant values. Okay, taking that example, a student may prioritize environmental values and making lifestyle choices. Then after that, the last step is characterization. The learner will values and internalize consistently the guide behavior, forming a value complex or worldview. That is characterization. So these are a hierarchy of affective domain. And what are the dimension? Talking about the dimension of affective domain, the first one is emotional development, second one social development, emotional, moral, social, spiritual, aesthetic development, motivational development. So emotional development implies that relate to understanding and managing emotions, developing empathy and emotional intelligence that is related to his emotion. It is one of the important part of affective development. Second one, moral development. A student must develop some kind of moral values like ethical reasoning, considering the right on wrong, considering just on just. Okay, the next step or next part is social development. It is related to interpersonal relationships, social competency, understanding social conventions. Then spiritual development relating to finding the meaning, purpose, developing a sense of transcendence and connection. Then aesthetic development, he must have to appreciate the beauty and creative expression. Then motivational development involves developing intrinsic motivation and goal setting and persistence. So these are the different components or dimension of affective development. ତେଣୁ affective development ଏଇ ସବୁ component ଉପରେ depend କରେ. So in schools or in home, activities related to this development must be organized, should be followed accordingly. Teachers should create that kind of situation so that students will find opportunities to gain experience. Okay, so then what kind of curricular activities are to be organized for affective domain? So first thing, two primary approaches are there. First one, a teacher must go for, not only teachers, but also the persons who are associated with the teaching learning process or education system. They must have to go for integrated approach. Here, affective domain should be organized. Okay, should be integrated with the existing subjects. We should not think it is a separate approach or it is a separate domain. So the subjects that we read or that we study must be attached to affective domain. Okay, and ମାନେ ତାକୁ curricular aspect ସହିତ ଆମକୁ organize କରିବା ପାଇଁ ପଡିବ, as well as we must have to organize it with co-curricular activities. So this approach reduces the curriculum load and allows for natural inclusion of effective element. For example, we must have to include a theme about environmental responsibilities in language context. ତେଣୁ environmental education को हमको curriculum को आनिबा ପାଇଁ ପଡିବ. Okay, ତାକୁ extra curricular activities ହିସାବରେ ନ consider କରିକି we must have to consider it as a curricular aspect so that students will be aware. So affective domain will develop. Second one, affect specific approach. Specific effective aspect are directly addressed through dedicated program or curriculum unit. ଯେମିତି ଆମେ କହୁଛନ୍ତି, a dedicated program for developing democratic values and social justice should be related to it. For that, we may organize some kind of seminar, debate, quiz competition. ମାନେ some specific approach ଆମକୁ ଆପଣେଇବା ପାଇଁ ପଡିବ. Okay, ତେଣୁ ଗୋଟେ ହେଲା integrated approach ଯୋଉଥିରେ ଆମେ affective domain related activities and subject are to be included with the curricular activities. Second thing, some specific activities, some specific programs or what we call workshop or other kind of thing may be related to curricular or extracurricular may be adopted. So both these approaches have limitations and advantages. ତେଣୁ the integrated approach avoids adding new subject but requires careful redesign of existing curriculum. That is the important thing. We cannot increase the curriculum burden. No, ଆମେ ନୂଆ ଜିନିଷ ଗୁଡାକୁ ଯଦି curriculum ରେ add କରି କରି ଚାଲିବା, curriculum will be a vast. It will not possible to transact the curriculum within the prescribed time. That's why we must have to think it carefully. Some subjects related to affective domain must be integrated to the curricular aspect. Okay, second thing, the affect specific approach allows focused development but may require separate curricular material. Okay, ତେଣୁ advantages ବି ରହିଛି ଆଉ disadvantages ବି ରହିଛି, ତେଣୁ we have to think it very carefully. Then talking about content selection and transaction for affective education, that's why we must have to go for different types of affective content. Some content may be related to intrapersonal focuses on the individual's own development, maybe self-esteem, self-confidence, assuming responsibility, and some interpersonal content may be organized. Some activities which will develop the team spirit, social responsibility, national integration, or what we call group dynamism, knowing the developing the social interaction. Those kind of activities are to be organized, or that kind of content are to be chosen in order to develop the affective content. ठीक ଅଛି पिले तो दुई प्रकार कंटेंट आमे बाछिबा किछि कंटेंट बाछिबा जोगुडा इंट्रा पर्सनल डेवलप करूथबो माने within a person those contents should help in the development of a affective domain in an individual on its own ମାନେ ନିଜର ସେଲ୍ଫ ଏଷ୍ଟେମ୍ ଡେଭଲପ କରୁଥିବ ସେଲ୍ଫ କନଫିଡେନ୍ସ ସେଲ୍ଫ ରିଲିଆନ୍ସ ଓକେ that kind of content or activities or subject must be chosen. Then what are the transaction mode, how we will transact the affective curriculum or affective activities. So that's why we must have to think very innovatively. The outlook of the teacher is important in this regard. A teacher may go for some demonstrative approach, or may go for some activity based activities, and teacher may provide some project for learning, and teacher may organize some kind of drama, may go for role playing. Teacher may show some modeling in order to bring the desirable behavior, and also a teacher go for regular observation and feedback. So many activities are there, so many strategies are there in order to transact the affective curriculum. So these are not actually fixed. So these things depend on teachers, how a teacher thinks, and how a teacher is dedicated in order to bring the desirable changes in the affective domain. ତେଣୁ ସେଥିପାଇଁ teacher ଙ୍କୁ କଣ କରିବା ପାଇଁ ପଡିବ, ମାନେ ଡେଡିକେଟେଡ ହେବା ପାଇଁ ପଡିବ, ତାଙ୍କୁ ନିଜର ଆଉଟଲୁକ୍ ୟୁଜ କରିବା ପାଇଁ ପଡିବ। ତେଣୁ ଯେମିତି ଗୋଟେ କଥା କୁହାଯାଏ, values are not taught, ନୁହଁ, values are not to be taught but to be caught. That means we cannot teach all kind of values, but through different kind of activities, different kind of situations, we may develop these values in learners. So in order to develop values, a teacher must think out of box along with his along with curricular activities, how to organize the activities so that students will know the values. Okay, then let us talk about the another domain of learning, that is what we call psychomotor learning. So this model is given by Onita Haro. Already we have discussed, but you have not remembered. Just try to remember what I am saying, and follow my instruction if you want to get success. Okay, so this is the concept of psychomotor learning. So psychomotor is related to physical skill and maturation. So talking about the hierarchy, first one, naturalization. Naturalizations means performance became natural, automatic, and unconscious. ଯେମିତି ଆମେ କହୁଛନ୍ତି ଗୋଟେ ପିଲାଟିଏ, ଛୋଟ ପିଲାଟିଏ ଯୋଉ ଚାଲି ଶିଖିବ, କଥା କହି ଶିଖିବ, okay, that is naturalization. That is what we call it is natural. They learn different kind of physical motor skill naturally. Okay, they can move from here and move here and there without restriction. Okay, they can perform various kind of physical activities. It is a natural process, so it comes at first in a concept of psychomotor learning. Third one, articulation. It means coordinating a series of action with harmony and consistency. Then third one is precision. Performance becomes very refined, exact, and reproducible without instruction. Then manipulation, performing action by following instruction and practicing. Then imitation. Imitation means attempting to copy to observe. This is an attempt to copy the observed actions. Okay, so these are the hierarchy of psychomotor learning. So those kind of facilities, those kind of opportunities may be provided in order to develop the physiological skill, or what we call psychomotor skill. So ତାକୁ ବିସ୍ତୃତ ଭାବରେ ମୁଁ କହୁନି, ମାନେ at home ଯେମିତି ଆମେ କହୁଛନ୍ତି, starting from the initial stage, the parents should provide that kind of opportunities. Okay, ପିଲାମାନେ କେମିତି ଭଲ ଭାବରେ ଚାଲି ପାରିବେ, କେମିତି ଇଏ କରିପାରିବେ, ସେଥିପାଇଁ ଯାହା ଆବଶ୍ୟକ, ମେ ବି what we call nutritional food, or what we call vaccination, or other facilities may be provided, so their naturalization physical skill will develop. then articulation by opportunities, maybe toy, maybe with different kind of object may be provided to them. ঠিক আছে, then when they come to school, school and educational institutions also develop that kind of curriculum, organize different kind of activities related to the development of physical skill and physical abilities, maybe arrangement of games, sports, dance, art, craft, those kind of things may be organized. Okay, and teachers may be provide some kind of modeling for the development of physical skill. So many things are here. So how, ଯେମିତି ମୁଁ କହିଲି, how to organize the psychomotor learning in the school or educational institution. These are the key areas which a school must look after. So physical exercise or physical education must be provided in the games, sports, athletics, regular exercise, physical fitness, mind body coordination, discipline, yoga, teamwork, those kind of activities must be organized. No, ତେଣୁ ବର୍ତ୍ତମାନ ତା ଉପରେ ବେଶୀ ମଧ୍ୟ ଫୋକସ କରାହଉଛି। ଆମେ ଜାଣିଛନ୍ତି ସ୍କୁଲ ହଉ କଲେଜ ହଉ special teachers are appointed for it, special timetable is prepared for it, and annually different kind of competitions are organized. So this is related to physical education. So that kind of environment must be created at the school. So ଯେମିତି ଆମେ ଭାବୁଛନ୍ତି ଆଉ ଗୋଟେ ବଡ ଜିନିଷ physical education ରେ ଆମେ ସବୁବେଳେ some parents and also we also think that physical education is not needed. That's why we refrain ourselves from participating in those physical activities, games, sports. Okay, ତେଣୁ ଯେତେବେଳେ ଆମେ କଲେଜରେ କିମ୍ବା ସ୍କୁଲ୍ସ ମାନଙ୍କରେ ଗେମ୍ ସ୍ପୋର୍ଟସ ମାନେ ଆରେଞ୍ଜ କରୁଛନ୍ତି, ଆନୁଆଲ ସ୍ପୋର୍ଟସ ହଉ କି ଆନୁଆଲ ଆଥଲେଟିକ ମିଟ୍ ହଉ, ଆମେ କଣ ଦେଖୁଛନ୍ତି ନା ପାର୍ଟିସିପେସନ ଅଫ ଦି ଷ୍ଟୁଡେଣ୍ଟସ ଆର୍ ଭେରି ଫ୍ୟୁ. Okay, especially I'm talking about my college. ଯେମିତି ମୁଁ କହୁଛି MPC କଲେଜ ହଉଛି ହେଲା ଓଡ଼ିଶାର ସବୁଠୁ ବଡ଼ କଲେଜ in terms of students enrollment. Near about 8,000 students read here. But when it comes to participation in games and sports, what happened? The participation not goes beyond 100. Okay, ତେଣୁ 8,000 ପିଲାରୁ 80 ଜଣ ପିଲା ବାହାରୁଛନ୍ତି. So that tells about our mindset. We think these things are not necessary for development, for our success. We have to change the mindset by providing the right kind of physical education. So talking about literacy activities, different programs may be organized in order to develop the mindset जोटाକୁ ମୁଁ କହିଲି, debate, elocution, recitation, writing skill, different kind of development, communication skill, critical thinking. Those must be organized in educational institutions. Then some cultural activities like what we call music, drama, dance, art are to be organized for the expression, for the development of creativity, cultural appreciation. ঠিক আছে, ତେଣୁ when organize these psychomotor activities, teachers should consider different things. All things are to be considered. ଖାଲି ସେମିତି organize କରିଦେଲେ ହବ ନାହିଁ. As per the age appropriateness, a teacher must organize different kind of game, sports, and other activities related to the development of psychomotor domain. So physical and cognitive development level, students' interest and abilities, balance between group and individual activities. So other things are also there. Only few I have written here. So many things are to be considered while organizing these activities. Availability of time ହେଇପାରେ, curriculum board ହେଇପାରେ, availability of refund, availability of fund ହେଇପାରେ, resources ହେଇପାରେ. So many things are there. Okay, you just add all these things. Then ତେଣୁ ଆମେ କହିଲେ ମାନେ when we think about the all round development or holistic development, we must have to consider different domains, mainly cognitive learning, affective domain, psychomotor learning, social development, personal growth. All these things are to be considered and prepare the curriculum accordingly, prepare the situation or learning environment accordingly, so that we can think about the all round development of our learner. Okay, ତେଣୁ ଏଠି ଆମେ କଣ କଣ ସବୁ ଜାଣିଲେ ପିଲେ? What we have learned here, we have learned regarding the 3 domains of learning and how these domains are interconnected for total development, and we also learn about the affective domain that requires time, exemplary model, and internalization. And for psychomotor learning, we combine physical skill with cognitive processes, and effective education balance all domains through the integral approach. Teacher must consciously plan for development across all domains. So these are the main points we have discussed. So this is all about this unit. If any doubt is here, you can ask. If any doubt. Okay, students, please respond.
Okay, sir.
তাহলে কিছু ডাউট নাহি in next class we will talk about the curriculum based learning and how to organize curriculum. So thank you to all for listening me patiently, and if any doubt you can ask at any time. Please note down your doubts and ask first. Okay, so as I have mentioned, tomorrow we will have our class from 4 to 6. I hope you all join. So thank you once again. With this, I remain.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
sir.